Today's episode is brought to you by Woolex. Between playing outdoor paddle in beautiful cold Chicago and getting ready for a ski trip in Colorado, staying warm really matters. And that's why I love Woolex. Their merino layers are insanely soft and they keep me warm without the bulk. So check them out at Woolex.com or in the show notes.
You're listening to Nothing Small About Business, where big thinking meets real world action. Ready to level up? Let's get into it.
You may recognize today's guest from The Bachelorette and Bachelor in Paradise. Today, I'm joined by Michael Allio, an entrepreneur, father, and digital storyteller who's turned personal loss into meaningful impact. His company, St. James Therapeutics, is developing topical products that support individuals experiencing chemotherapy and radiation-related skin discomfort. Michael, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me, Sarah.
Yeah. So originally I was going to say, I'm so grateful that you're joining us today because we're experiencing the most brutal cold weather in the Midwest.
Yes, and I don't think it's going to change anytime soon.
And I also just want to acknowledge, I just noticed that today is the anniversary of your wife's passing. So I wanted to make sure to acknowledge that as well. And I
Yeah,
appreciate
yeah,
you being here
yeah. Thank
and
you.
sharing your
Mhm.
story.
It's been 7 years since Laura passed, and I was just talking to some friends about this because they always say, "Can you believe it's been 7 years?" And it's odd because it doesn't feel short and it doesn't feel long. It's almost as if the whole experience has lived outside of the confines of time. It's just like
Mhm.
you're living in it every day. It's one day at a time. And I still speak to this day to tons of widows and widowers, and they share with me their story, a lot of them early on in their grieving process. And
Mhm.
it's amazing, like, to have these conversations because it's nice to be there for people being 7 years removed and be able to give some perspective, but at the same time, it also helps me to show all the progress that has been made because grief can be a really challenging, deep hole that is tough to get out of.
Right. I imagine it's not linear either.
Oh, it's far from that. I mean, the second you think you've got it figured out, another year or another memory or a song comes around and completely flips you upside down. So it's like the one thing I've gotten used to is not knowing and
Not
not
knowing. And
expecting.
yeah, just being in that moment and feeling the feelings.
Yeah,
That's the only
yeah,
way is to go through it.
yeah, exactly. Thank you for saying that.
Yeah, of course. So, for those listeners that don't know, I would love for you to share just a little bit of the background of your story before we jump into what you're currently doing with your company. So, if you could share a little bit about Laura and your experience then that went, with the Bachelorette and Bachelor in
Yeah,
Paradise.
yeah. So I mean, Laura's very much intertwined with all the things that I continue to do, even though that she's been gone for 7 years. So I mean, let's see, 2012, Laura and I got married. We had been together for 10 years and she was on me left and right. When are you going to propose? When are you going to propose? I ended up proposing to her on a flight to St. Thomas because she was so scared of flying. But then when she came up to accept the ring, so I got on the microphone and everything, she
No
was
way.
on so much Ativan that that she like, she was drugged, like, I'm not sure if it woulda held up in court that she
She's like, "Do I know you?"
yeah, and she was under the influence, you're like, "Who is this guy?" But we ended up getting married in 2012. Life was perfect. I mean, I think leading up to 2016 when we had James, we had done all the things that we set out to do. We graduated, we had gotten the job that we wanted. We were building the family, like our timelines were so on point. And then
Mhm.
in 2017, when James was 7 months old, he actually stopped taking breast milk from one side of Laura's breast. And that's actually how we found breast cancer.
Wow, no way.
Yeah, so Laura was very attuned to her body, um, which she was just like, "Something's off. Something is very, very off," and that led to a mammogram, biopsy, and diagnosis, a few days later, and for anybody that has had cancer enter their life, it really flips your world upside down The things that you
Mhm.
used to worry about, they immediately go away, and it just becomes
Mhm.
singular thing. How can we, um, how can we fight? How can we find the right team? How can we beat this and come out better on the other side? And
Mhm.
so Laura sadly passed in 2019 after just the most courageous battle. She took her cancer journey extremely public. But before she passed away, during her chemotherapy treatment that she was getting, she developed these really, really painful side effects of chemotherapy. One was called hand and foot syndrome, which is like your hands and feet are burning off. Like think if you haven't
Oh
seen it or
gosh.
experienced it, it's like putting your hands on a hot plate or on the stove, boils, blisters, peeling. And at the time, Laura couldn't hold James. And so just as a caregiver, I'm, trying to think of anything we can do. And so her and I teamed up together and we created a topical cream that worked really well for her. So the whole origin of St. James was never meant to be a business. It was literally out of necessity. We personally always said, we wish we never had to do this. We wish
Mhm.
someone would beat us to it because there's 500,000 people annually that have this side effect of chemotherapy. And it usually not only impacts their quality of life, but it disrupts treatment. People have to get off their chemotherapy, which
Oh
hurts
wow.
outcomes. And so we developed this cream. It worked well for her. Laura took her cancer journey extremely public, which was so courageous. She built a community around just being vulnerable and herself. And we started sending product out for free to other people that had it. It was working for them. And then after she passed, she wanted me to continue this thing, and it hasn't been
Mhm.
an easy. I think with I think with all entrepreneurs, you have to be a little naive to think that
Very.
yeah, you have to be
Yeah.
naive to think that you can do it, you know?
I think they call it delusional, some
It's
level of delusion.
very delusional. But I think one thing that all entrepreneurs have in common is confidence, but not in the sense that you know everything or that you're prepared. It's more or less confident. You're confident that you know when you're faced with uncertainty, you'll know how to respond.
Mhm.
And
It's a great way to say that.
that's really where the confidence is for an entrepreneur is that uh, you know that you feel passionate about an idea. You can't live with yourself without pursuing it.
Mhm.
And you feel confident in your ability to respond when things don't go your way because they won't.
They will not.
They will
And
not.
you have to jump in knowing that you're not gonna know everything, but you're gonna figure it out.
Yeah. And you have to be comfortable with the fact you can't control everything. Like,
Mhm.
there are certain problems in business and life and all of these things that some of them will fix themselves. Some of them are important, but not a priority right now. And so you have to be able to compartmentalize all of these different things into just this hierarchy of priority. Like, what is the thing that requires my attention now versus what will take care of itself later on?
Right, and sometimes that, distraction that comes into the problem comes in is actually a really good pivot point where it's gonna redirect you in the avenue that you're supposed to go down, and it
Yeah.
ends up being a blessing so that you can make a better informed decision, when all of
You're
these things are
absolutely
coming at
right.
you.
Like, sometimes these obstacles that you think are going to completely bury your idea, or they take you off guard because they weren't part of your business plan that you had, created, that you thought everything was gonna go just as planned. They force you to stop, to pause, to remove yourself and look at what you're doing, which oftentimes ends in a better product.
Absolutely. 100%. And I love the origin of your story that you're able to do what you're doing
Thank you.
and that it stemmed from such a heartfelt moment with just trying to do anything you could to make Laura feel more comfortable going through treatment because it's terrible that people that are going through such a hard time physically and mentally also have to deal with the side effects of their treatment. And so I love that you're doing this and you're putting, passion behind and
Yeah.
feeling this pull to do something to help people is really cool.
Thank you. So much money gets poured into cancer research, which is outstanding. Keep it coming. But if
Mhm.
to any oncologist, one area of extreme need is what's called cancer supportive care. So, taking the given tools that oncologists have to fight cancer, there are side effects. And so, of these effective treatments. So,
Mhm.
how can we ensure that patients can maintain a better quality of life, have dignity, allow them to finish the course of their treatment without having to discontinue, which, like I said before, affects outcomes. Um,
Mhm.
so all of them are yearning for this, and hand-foot syndrome is one of many. I mean, many patients get mouth ulcers from chemotherapy. There's harsh skin reactions from radiation. For HFS, hand-foot syndrome, which
Mhm.
cream is really designed for, there's nothing out there. Every single doctor that's out there does something off-label, and it's one of the only things I've seen in medicine, in modern day medicine, where it's still very much an art on how they try to treat HFS.
Wow.
When Laura got it, a doctor gave her preparation H to put all over.
No way.
Yeah, and,
Like,
other
that's
doctors.
our best option right now, is that for, the
There's
wow.
I mean, if you talk to, different oncologists, they're all going to have a different a different special sauce.
Mhm.
None of them are really created for that, and so our goal at St. James Therapeutics is to develop something that's gentle, that's effective, that's affordable, because a lot of times these projects and these products, by the time they actually get into the consumer's hands, they're too expensive for anybody to afford, and you shouldn't have to go broke because you got sick. And
Mhm.
all of these things I've taken into account when building the company, when raising money for it, when taking on investors is we need money to make this thing happen, but we need the right kind of money. We need people that believe in our mission, that obviously every investor needs some sort of return, but when do they need it and how much is too much? And so
Mhm.
figuring that out and being willing to turn away checks in order to see the bigger picture is a discipline that I've had to learn, and one that I've actually thankfully held since we started St. James.
Wow, okay, I have so many questions about St. James. So there's a couple areas that I wanna go with this. I
Yeah, sure.
would love to dive a little deeper into what you had to learn from the business standpoint when you're taking on investors. And then I also wanna learn about what it looked like when you were trying to make a formulation, because I wouldn't even know where to begin with something like that, of creating some sort of skincare that's going to alleviate pain. So let's first start with the investor side, though. Can you expand a little bit on what you mean by attracting the right investors?
Yeah, so I believed in our product so much that when I approached investors, um, I wasn't I wasn't begging for their money. It I was interviewing them,
Hmm.
and I was interviewing them because a check is important to start your business. But what I wanted were investors that could offer me their expertise and their services, to help push this along. And that was incredibly important. And investors actually liked to see this because it meant that I was responsible with the funds that I had. So, what that
Hmm.
looks like, for example, um, if I want a lawyer's money because I want their legal advice as I'm navigating regulation,
Got
I
it.
want a hospital admin, because when it comes time to navigate the hospital system to get this on the right patients, I want to know the pain points that they're thinking about so that I can have a proper pitch. And so I've got a CEO of a hospital on my board. I wanted somebody that knew how to market consumer products and get them on shelves really good. So I got the CEO and the man that created Purell on our board. Uh,
Wow, that's amazing.
yeah, and I wanted somebody who knew how to raise capital extremely well. So I got this woman who graduated from MIT, worked for NASA, and now has her own venture capital fund. She was an
Mhm.
investor, in the company, and so it's things like that, like, think of your investors as departments,
Mhm.
your own
So you were
company, except they give
very
you free
intentional.
except they give you free labor, and
Right.
yeah, and they're extremely tied in, and they're vested into your company now, financially, emotionally, and these are all people that sure they had expertise, but if they weren't willing to help, then it's pointless. So you also need to find people that are willing to help and that get some sort of satisfaction out of helping others.
Right. That's such a great point to be super intentional with that. And it kind of goes back into you're not going to know every area of the business. So find the people that genuinely are experts in those different areas and lean on them and partner with them and learn from them. And that's so important as a business owner. You don't have to be an expert in everything.
No, no, and it's you learn along the way a little bit in all of these departments because if you're lucky enough, you surround yourself with people that that know it really well and are willing to teach you, and so it rubs off on you a little bit. But
Hmm.
you'll never be able to know as much as these people. So, I mean, one of the
Hmm.
big things for leadership and for entrepreneurs is surround yourself with A players and be humble enough that even though you may carry the role CEO, like, that doesn't mean you're the authority on all things. Like, it
Hmm.
means opposite. Some of the best leaders I've ever come across are people who know how to facilitate and delegate and inspire and bring people to the right people together, for a greater good or a common cause. So it's like
Hmm.
I've seen a lot of young people who and old people, it's not age related, but it's like they have this imposter syndrome so much that they overcompensate by trying to be the CEO at the table, and it's like,
The
no.
loudest voice.
Yeah, you're allowed to be you. And
Hmm.
I think in this day and age, nothing is better than just coming to the table as your authentic self.
Mhm. Yeah, it reminds me of kind of one of the reasons I started this podcast. I was craving some of these conversations around business, and those aren't sometimes normal conversations that women have at
Or
dinner
you're
parties.
definitely not having them with your kids, you know? It's like
Right.
you need adult interaction.
Yes, exactly. And it's like surround yourself with those people. You're going to learn so much from them if you're open
Right.
to that. If you
Yeah.
walk in thinking you know everything, then good luck.
I mean, if you walk in thinking you know everything, what a boring room that is.
Very true.
You know,
And
like,
people aren't going to want to be around you.
I love the feeling of walking in feeling like, "Oh my god, how did I even get into this room?" You know?
Mhm.
Gonna check my credentials and realize that I'm not qualified, like, I want to be in those rooms because those are the people that elevate you, and I think people that have been successful in life genuinely want to help other people. I mean,
Mhm.
you'll get assholes every now and again, but I think for the most part, people wanna share their knowledge, and they wanna feel needed,
Right.
and so make them feel needed because they are.
And I love those things. I've been seeing a couple Instagram reels that are like, nobody that's doing more than you is going to criticize what you're doing. It's the people doing less than you that will
100%.
have an opinion.
When was the last time you heard an artist criticize another artist?
Right. Well,
Never.
never unless they're
Never.
extremely insecure.
Yeah, exactly, and I think there will always be skeptics, there will always be people that say that you're not gonna accomplish this. I remember early on in, St. James, I went to a doctor, and he told me I showed him everything, he said, "This is never gonna happen." And I remember getting in
Wow.
my car like, "Oh my god, he's a doctor, like, he's been doing this for 30 years, everybody I know looks up to this guy, and he completely said he can't, like, I'm not gonna be able to do this. Like, do I listen to him, because he's the expert and the authority? Or do I say he doesn't understand it and me being naive to
Right.
go through it anyway? And I'm so glad I did because the things that he was hung up on, we easily navigated.
Yeah, you got to listen to that inner voice.
Yeah, you gotta listen to that inner voice, and I mean, I can say that I mean, I've been a part of a lot of things in my life, which I'm lucky. It's like, the work that I'm a part of are things that I want to do.
Hmm.
I'm thankful that I'm not in a cubicle working for somebody else's dream, but creating my own, and even though being in that seat, the decision maker seat, sometimes I wish I just worked in a department and did the same thing every day because 'cause I'm like, I'm going crazy. Sometimes I wish I just had, like, a simple traditional job. I can't imagine doing anything more. And so, like, for
Hmm.
I'm so thankful.
For sure. And you mentioned walking in some rooms and you can't believe you're in those rooms. So I have to ask, being part of Bachelor
Yeah.
Nation, what impact did that have on your business? Did that open any doors, relationships? Bachelor Nation to me feels like almost like, like I was in a sorority. And so I can lean on sorority sisters just by saying, hey, you're a fellow Alpha Phi, so am I. And it's an
Yes.
immediate connection. What kind of doors opened being part of that world?
So, I mean, the whole Bachelor thing is wild because in what was it, 2000 and January 2021 COVID is in the heat of things. I'm at home with my son, who's like 4 years old at the time. And I never applied to go on the show. I never sought it out. There was a like a recruiter for the show reached out to me on Instagram, said, "Would you like to do it?" And I'm glad I did it because one of the things that was really helpful when raising money for St. James was okay, how are you gonna market this product? How are you gonna find,
Hmm.
like how are people going to find out about it? And because I went on the show and because I built up, a social media presence, um, it allows me to be able to have a little bit of a megaphone where
Hmm.
otherwise I would have been, you know, getting lost in the clutter. And so again, that was a real benefit of being on the show because I want the product to be affordable. And it's like if
Hmm.
I'm spending all this money on marketing and paid ads and all of this, that impacts unit cost. And so it's really helpful that I can jump on Instagram and talk to over 300,000 people and get tied in with advocates. You know, you get the blue check mark, and I never knew this before, but you get the blue check mark and people respond to you, you know?
Right.
People
It
respond.
does make a difference, I will say.
It makes a difference. And so that was really, really helpful. And that's allowed us to recruit for studies. We're currently running in a study. So, I mean, if anyone's listening, knows somebody with cancer or knows somebody that has hand foot syndrome or radiation burns, if you go to stjamestherapeutics.com and enroll, we will give them product free of charge.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so if they do that, they can go on there. So I'm totally gonna plug that because We
Yes.
want our product on as many people as possible, and we wanna and the results we've seen have been just extraordinary, and so social media has helped that way. The Bachelor world
Mm-hmm.
is wild. I do think, like, where some people stay in the Bachelor world their whole
Yes.
life, that was really never for me.
Okay.
It was meant to be just kind of an experience, an era in my life, which was fun and memorable and absolutely crazy. Um,
Great chapter of the book.
great chapter. But I think the most interesting things in my life, that I've done haven't happened yet.
Hmm. Oh, I love that. That's a great way to say that.
Yeah.
So, just very recently, my mom was, she was diagnosed with a skin cancer,
Oh, I'm
and
so
that's like,
yeah.
and she's very lucky. She's got the good kind, if we can call any of them good kind. So, she actually this month just finished the chemo cream, and it was unbelievable what that did to her skin. I had no idea,
What did it do?
and it's um. So the chemo cream will find the spots that has skin cancer, but then it leaves it very itchy, red, and it looks very painful.
Yeah.
And I never realized until learning about your company and then seeing my mom this month, she just finished her treatment. It's unbelievable what
Does
people have to
she
go through
still
with the
have
side
it?
effects of
Does
it.
she still have it?
So she finished her last treatment last week. So
Well,
then,
I'm talking about the blisters and, like, on the skin, the
y-
redness.
oh, very much so.
Well, here's the thing. So we created this cream. If you look at hand and foot syndrome, the individual symptoms are redness, irritation, burning, blistering, dryness, all of these things. So then we looked at other conditions that have it, which radiation is one of those things. I mean, you have sunburns that are one of them. So
Mm.
really treats those side effects. So you don't necessarily have to have HFS in order to get this. So if you want, I can send her some product. She can try it on. It's completely gentle and safe, and I can have it in the mail. And
Oh, that would be amazing.
usually people see results within a lot of people see it after the first application, but
Oh,
sometimes
wow.
it shouldn't take more than 2 days to see significant results.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Okay, so talk to me through, and I really appreciate you doing that. It's so nice because you don't know what to do for people that are suffering through something, but if you can provide them something that you're like, "Hey, this might help you with some relief," like what
Oh,
a
yeah.
nice, beautiful thing you can do for them.
Yeah, yeah, happy to help.
Yeah. So I'm really curious. So Laura is having these issues. Where do you start with figuring out the formulation on what's going to help for this?
I mean, it was a lot of research in the beginning. I spent 10 years in the pharmaceutical world, so I knew, you know, a little bit about pharmacology, and things like that, but it I can't even say that that was the driving force because it was really out of necessity. So, we were looking at things that I think pharmaceutical companies and, you know, medical companies would have completely overlooked,
Okay.
entirely. So, here's how crazy it went. So, when you get cancer, you're living online just nonstop. You're researching everything. There's a drug called Xeloda, capecitabine, that causes hand-foot syndrome in like 65% of the patients. It's used for breast cancer, colorectal cancer, prostate cancer, a bunch. Laura was on it, and that's when she developed it really bad. So we're going online, we're reading case studies, we're looking at holistic remedies, all of these things. There was a case study about this one girl in the Middle East, and she was like 22 years old, low BMI, no comorbidities, and she had breast cancer. And at the level of capecitabine she was getting, the dose, it was so high, and yet she didn't have hand-foot syndrome. So we're like, "What? That's weird." Like, at that
What's different?
totally have it. And so we're reading through her profile and it's, describing the patient. And at the end, it says the patient presented with henna tattoos,
Interesting.
hands and feet. And so we're like, that's enough information for us to investigate. So we
Mm.
looking at henna itself, and there's tons of different variations of it. And we started making some concoctions of that just for our beta formulation. And our beta formulation was working, it was working a little bit. But then we started thinking, well, you have a botanical plant, you have different farming conditions, quality control is crazy. Like henna grown in Pakistan is going to be different than henna grown in India. So what
Oh, interesting. Right.
and so what is the common thread between them? What's causing this anti-inflammatory and wound healing benefit? And we were able to find the molecule within the plant, and it's called lawson. And so later on, we ended up in our new formulations, we were able to create lawson synthetically.
That's incredible that you went down that deep of a dive to figure it out.
Yeah, because when we were initially using henna, like it's an organic compounds, which makes it difficult to mix, and with other creams, it's difficult to blend. It also degrades, so harsh on shelf life. Uh, like it'll spoil quickly. It also has impurities. You don't know whether or not there's pesticides in these conditions. You don't know the percentage of lawson that exists in each lot. So
Okay.
so by removing all of the organic components, the carbons and all of that that exist in the leaves, and we're able to create lawson synthetically, we can then control the exact purity of it and ensure that everybody who gets our cream gets the same level each and every time.
Wow. So you've really become an expert on henna.
More than I ever thought I'd know.
Right.
I mean, one of the every entrepreneur needs a break, right? Like we need,
Hmm.
uh, I know people say that it's funny. The harder I work, the more lucky I get, and part of that is true. Yes, like it's not all based on luck, but we all need a break. My break came when I had this idea. Laura had already passed away. I needed help from real chemists. And I started telling them my story and why I was doing this and who I was doing this for. And a team of chemists, an amazing team of chemists, offered up their services to me pro bono for 2 years.
I have chills.
I met with them every single week. They not only met with me and answered my questions, but they did the work too. Like, they went out there and helped me with the studies and find the people and do different batches and formulations because they were either at a point in their career where they wanted to do something meaningful, um, or they've had somebody who's been affected by cancer in their life that they wanted to do this in memory of.
And that's just proof that when everything is in alignment, the universe shows up with who you need exactly in that moment to keep it propelling forward. Like that, how cool that those people were introduced to you at that time
Yeah.
and were all about having that same mission.
Yeah, because I mean, up until a year and a half ago, I mean, I've been doing this for over 7 years. And it was only up until a year and a half ago that I raised money. Everything was self-funded. I mean, for
Yeah.
6 years was completely self-funded. So if these chemists were like, "Well, here's my going rate, it's $800 an hour,"
See ya.
it would have killed the project then and there.
Right.
Yeah,
Oh gosh, how amazing that they were part of it.
yeah,
Okay, so then talk me through like then I noticed that you got your patent. Like what's the whole process like when you're working with a product with a very sensitive population of patients? Like, what are some of those like, are there a lot of red tape and regulations that you have to go through for that?
Yeah, so, I mean, I wrote the entire patent myself. Like literally stared at a blank Word document, and then I looked at other people's patents, like, that they've written just to understand, like, what's the template and the structure of this, and then I did a little bit of, like, research on what makes a good patent, which, believe it or not, it's to be as broad as possible. So,
Okay.
more
So you don't
specific.
pigeonhole?
Yeah, the more specific you are, the easier it is to knock off because people can change a little thing,
Mhm. Okay.
and then you completely lose your IP. So be as broad.
Interesting, because you would think, like, go as specific as possible so people can't copy
No,
it, but that
you actually hit
totally makes sense.
trouble by going too specific. Um, and so that actually worked in my favor because all I could do at that time was go broad because I didn't know all the specifics at all. So I so I was
So it's a
like,
blessing.
yeah, it's like this idiot in the room, like, thank God it worked out. Um, and so I wrote this patent, got amazing patent protection. And that came 2 years later. And then once I got the patent protection, I had something to go to investors for and say, "Hey, I've had this on 50 patients. Laura was on this. I'm not here selling an idea. I'm selling something that works. And now it's patent protected. So if you believe that there is a population of people that are in need, if you do your own research and you realize there's no products that are out there to help them, you like the patent, you like me, then there's no reason why you shouldn't be a part of the team." And so went there, raised money fairly quickly, and yeah, we've been putting it to work. A lot of the money has gone to research and development. We keep our burn rate extremely low, so no one's taking big salaries whatsoever because again, we want the product to be affordable.
Got it. So where are you at currently in the process? Like, is your product available to patients yet? Is it still in the trial and testing stage?
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, the product works. We could have went to market about a year ago. It's been tested for safety, shelf life, skin irritancy. We've tested it on cadaver skin to understand how much gets into the bloodstream. We've been cleared by toxicologists. A lot of it goes into testing. And we even go as far to test each individual ingredient that is in our product because of the population that we're putting this on. We want to make sure,
Mhm.
since it's an immunocompromised group undergoing chemo, that there's nothing that would put them at risk. So safety was always at the forefront. Um, but we know the product works. It's worked on, geez, we're going on, I mean, north of 150 people with incredible results. I just posted on social media, this girl, Angela, who single mom of 4. Literally, if you go on my Instagram, you'll see it. She had the worst radiation burns I'd ever seen. I mean, her skin was it was burgundy. Like, that's how
Oh,
red it was,
gosh.
and all over. And when I told people that I came out with the product, a lot of social media of her followers reached out to me, said, "You got to help this girl." We sent it out to her. Within a week, it was healed.
That's
Go look at
incredible.
the video because she posted it on her stories, and I'm like, "Can I share this?" I mean, we've had.
That's incredible.
Yeah, within a week. So, I guess to answer your question, right now, what we're trying to do is collect additional feedback from people before we go to market. So that's why, specifically on people with radiation burns and for people with chemotherapy or immunotherapy hand and foot syndrome. So if you have those or know somebody that does, if they go to stjamestherapeutics.com, it's pretty easy. You can see, do I apply? They fill out a quick questionnaire and we send it out. the product out, and all they have to do is fill out a survey once a week for 2 weeks. And so we're
That's
just
really neat.
data like how does the product feel on the skin? How fast do you see it working? Is there anything that you would do to improve it? But the results
Hmm.
have all been positive. 90% of people that we've surveyed said they have felt an immediate difference.
That's got to be such a good feeling knowing that you're not just building a business, you are genuinely helping a population that is so deserving of it.
Yeah, when you get cancer, when anybody gets cancer, like you get stripped of the life you wanted and the life you had
Hmm.
planned for. You lose your hair. You have a hard time finding the energy to fulfill the roles and responsibilities that you have. You go broke in the process.
Ugh,
You lose your identity as a person gets challenged and compromised. Like we do not believe that people should lose everything when they get a cancer diagnosis. Our product provides hope that
hmm.
we maintain these side effects, keep them at bay so that oncologists can do their job and and patients can get back to doing theirs, which is being a mother, being a father, being a friend, like enjoying life. And one thing with hand foot
Hmm.
syndrome is that it makes it difficult to walk around and enjoy yourself. So when people get it really severe, they're sitting on the couch, and what comes with that? It's depression and anxiety.
Depression, right?
Yeah, and so all of these
Mhm.
things are very much connected. And again, like if anyone's listening to this being like, "Wow, like, Michael, you've can't believe you've done this." I wouldn't have been able to do this without Laura. I wouldn't have been able to do this without those chemists. I wouldn't have been able to do this without people along the way, genuine angels that have lent their time, their
Hmm.
expertise, and helped champion this, for the last 7 years.
Right. And things happen for a reason and they align a certain way to bring you to a place that you need to be. And that's truly you're in the place where now you're going to be able to help so many people.
Yeah.
So when you launch your product, where is it going to be available in stores like a Walgreens or is it going to be more of like a hospital based?
Yeah, I mean, we're still gonna figure that out. One thing I'm happy about, and it's one I had to learn, was patience. And I mean that because, like, when resources are limited, you can't start planning too far ahead. So our main focus is finish these studies, like get the
Hmm.
data and make sure that you're doing that perfect. Because we believe if the data is there, it's credible, the results are there, everything else falls into place because there's such a clear need for this. I mean, whether or not we want to leverage a sales force that already exists in the market that has distribution already out there, partner with, McKesson to distribute the product or partner with one of the chemotherapy manufacturers who, who their chemo causes this. Like
Hmm.
imagine you get your Zolota and in a patient's starter kit, you have a sample of our cream. Like those are the kind of things like you don't have to create it from the ground up. Like building your own sales force is expensive and it's lengthy and sales reps are needy. I know that because
Right.
I used to be one. Um and
You
so
know who you're dealing with here.
who I'm dealing with because I was that monster. Uh and so find partners that are a natural fit. Have those conversations because you can work better as a team.
Yeah, what's that? Work smarter, not harder. Yeah,
That's
that makes
right. That's right.
complete
It
sense.
already exists out there, so it's just about finding it. So I think once we get the
Mhm.
results, um, then we really start tackling what's next. But I think those opportunities will become so clear. I don't think there'll be a problem.
Yeah, that I love that because it's really about like the phases, like even with this podcast, my first phase was going to be done a certain way. And then I know phase two, I'm going to add on. It's not perfect in phase one. And I know that. But if
Right.
you wait for the whole picture to be perfect, you're never going to take step one.
Right. And especially when you're making a product like ours that is it's regulated, that if you make a mistake or you move too quickly, it's so costly to go backwards and fix it.
Ooh, good point.
Like,
Very
it's
good point.
so costly. It's not just time, but it's money. Like, if we changed anything in our formulation, anything, added a drop of vitamin A, um, we have to redo all of our testing all over again. So, all of our safety
Wow.
testing, all of our preservative testing, skin irritancy, like, everything all over again,
So
and
it's
so it's like
really take y-
you gotta
one
move
step at a
have to
time.
move slowly, and that sometimes is nerve-wracking because there are people getting chemotherapy right now that could benefit from this. Like, I have a sense of urgency
Hmm.
to get it into their hands, but at the same time, sometimes moving slower is the fastest way to do it.
Yeah, good point. That is such a good point. All right, one more area I want to touch on before we run out of time is that I love the relationship that you have with Jade. I've been following you
Yeah.
guys on Instagram and I love your story and how you guys complement each other. And she's a successful entrepreneur as well. And
Yes.
so I'm curious to know how do you guys complement each other in that regard with your companies and ideas and execution and things like that?
Yeah, that's a great question. I remember before I went on The Bachelorette, my mom asked me, she goes, "Do you really think you can find the love of your life in a few weeks on this show?" And I said, "Mom, I got no idea, but I know I'll find her because of it." And
Oh, wow.
that's exactly what happened. I mean, I was on the show, Jade saw me on the show, we began a conversation, and now she's living in our house together that we're building together in Akron. Um, so that's
That's beautiful.
yeah, that's one of those things where you don't know where the road will take you and how it's gonna impact you, but Jade is I mean, if you look at Jade's career, I mean, she's a esthetician, um, but when she was in California, I mean, she was the top of her craft. She did
Hmm.
Kardashians, Lady Gaga, like, I mean, she was the go-to girl for all of that, and she built up just such a amazing business on social media. I mean, on Instagram, she's got over 1,000,000 followers that love what she does. On YouTube, she's got 800,000 people that tune in for all of her tips and skills. But, she got that itch to be more than just a face. So she actually created her own brand. She created her own skincare line. So, believe it or not, like, there was a lot of synergies when she was creating her
Hmm.
skincare and mine. I mean, she had to undergo all the safety testing, preservative testing, packaging, all of that. We used a lot of the same manufacturers, because we
That's
had we had learned along
awesome.
the way. So we've kind of built both of these things together, and we speak each other's language, and it's been helpful talking to somebody who is an expert in skincare, get
Hmm.
on ways in which I can improve our formulation in the future, and looking at HFS patients and saying, "This is what I would do to treat them." And so again, it goes back to make sure you got the right people on your team because I mean, I got the world's best expert in skincare, l-
That's what I find
ex-
so cool. Like the parallels there and the conversations that you can have that have such a deeper understanding around it is really interesting. And you're not going to find that in everybody.
No, no. So I mean, we vibed off that really hard. I mean, outside of just her being just the greatest, warmest, gentlest person to James. I mean, 7 years after Laura passed, and it's like a lot of people ask me, like, how do you feel? And it's like, I'm happy. I'm happy to be alive. I'm
Mhm.
happy that James is such a beautiful, vibrant kid where death and loss didn't impact him in such a negative way. I'm happy that, like, I've been able to not only have a relationship, but open up my heart again to give,
Mhm.
like, to give her a chance, like, invite her in because the biggest problem I had was after Laura passed, I knew I'd get married again. I just
Mhm.
because I love it, it's like I love, like, being a husband. I love having those things, so I knew I would have it again, but I wasn't sure how it would feel. Like, would it
Mhm.
feel the same? And Laura and Jade are totally different people. Who I was with Laura is totally different than who I am
Mhm.
with Jade, but the feeling feels the same, and I feel like that is just a lot of work and a lot of failure and a lot of trying to make to make sure
Right.
that you can get
And
there.
yeah, and both things can exist at the same time of,
Oh,
feeling the sadness of the loss of Laura, but also being so in love and happy with Jade. And
yeah,
then speaking to your son and how he's thriving, I think that just speaks volumes of how you handled that situation. And, the role model that you played in his life surely was the biggest impact on how he was able to process that. And having it called St. James is after your son, correct? And
absolutely, because he was the one that found Laura's breast cancer.
that's incredible. And so having that story and company that he's part of, in her memory and it's starting her way is just, it's such a beautiful story and it's heartbreaking and beautiful at the same time.
Well, I think anybody going through thank you, and I think anybody going through hardship, I mean, mm, for me, it was always important to apply purpose to something sad. Um, I had to give it meaning, otherwise I think I would have run the risk of it hardening me as a person.
Mhm.
And I think that's something we have to defend ourselves against. It's like, I remember being a kid and, like, looking at, like, 50-year-old people and being like, "Why are they so grumpy? What happened?" What happened to them? And, like, the kids
So
who talk to these
miserable.
people, it's like, man. It's like, I think we have to defend against being hardened by the world. And
Mhm.
we have to we have to be able to adopt a perspective, even if it's lying to you. Adopt a positive perspective because you'll learn things from no matter what you went through. There are silver linings and lessons around every corner, but sometimes we let our emotions to blind us from seeing those. And sometimes it takes time to recognize them. Uh,
Mhm.
they're everywhere. And I just wrote this on my Instagram post. The one of the greatest gifts Laura gave me was the gift of grief. That that was the last gift she gave me. And
Wow, that's powerful.
and I can honestly say that grief has taught me more than anything has.
Mhm.
And so because anybody who is grieving, think of it this way. Grief is the last gift the person you love gave you. And you loved all of the things they gave you before.
Mhm.
Embrace grief, embrace that gift, and hopefully one day you can look at it always with a heavy heart, but find the beauty in the lessons it taught you.
Whew, you're gonna make me cry. That was beautiful. That was I'm like, oh my gosh, like,
I'm
whew.
tearing well, I'm tearing up too. It's a heavy day.
Ah, it is. Oh my gosh, that was so beautiful. And to be able to, say that on the 7th-year anniversary of her passing is just beautiful.
Thank you.
Whew,
Sorry about
what?
Yeah, I've been known to, get a little gushy, so I apologize, but, you know, I've noticed this, like, I tear up a lot. I never cry at sad things.
Mhm.
But things that are, like, beautiful and heartfelt get me every single time. Just
Every time it
rock
hits
my
deep.
world. Yeah, I mean, I think for people that are struggling out there, like, don't get caught up in how heavy it feels right now. Sometimes you just have to see those eras as storms you need to weather, and it
Mhm.
doesn't make it easy, but, do the best you can so that once you get on the other side, you can look back at yourself and be proud of the fact that you survived it and did the best you could.
Mhm, and it's such a redirection when
And you
you can look back in hindsight and see what that redirection where that brought you.
and you can apply it to anything.
Mhm. Oh, well, we're running out of time. This was such a meaningful conversation,
Oh, thanks for having me
and
on. And congrats on your podcast too. Like, I've no doubt
thank
it's
you.
gonna be successful. Keep sharing your light with the world, and,
Thank you, and
on it. Now I'm happy to help you any way I can too.
I appreciate that. I really hope that the people listening out there are gonna check out your company, and you are absolutely the perfect person to be, at the helm of this, leading the ship, so
Yeah, we'll see. I made my mistakes, but I'm glad they still have me there.
absolutely. I'm a big fan of the company and what you're doing,
Thank
so
Thanks
you.
for listening to Nothing Small About Business. Make sure you follow the show so you don't miss the value in upcoming episodes. Share this with someone who's growing and connect on socials for more.